tied at 87. Lynn with the ball in his hands. Fans on their feet. 5, 4, Lynn for the win!
We're good.
All right, so welcome to the OneMic podcast. I'm your host, Cody, and this is my co-host, Holden. And today's discussion, Jeremy Lin. So obviously, Jeremy Lin, big influential player, caused a whole phenomenon of Linsanity, one of the biggest, honestly, in my opinion, one of the biggest events in all of NBA history. But before we get into, the whole Linsanity logistics, let's talk about his background.
All right. So Jeremy Lin, where do we begin? This is Cody Yang, and I'm Holden Kim. Jeremy Lin grew up in Palo Alto, California, in a Christian family. He found great success in Palo Alto High School. He was a point guard, and they won the state championships under him. And so eventually, with no scholarship, he makes it into Harvard University, also becoming a great player in the Ivy Leagues while majoring in economics. Yep, he did break records.
Yeah, he did break records, yeah.
You want to talk about how he eventually made into the NBA?
Yeah, so obviously, he was a great player at Harvard. I think he was like the best there, one of the best there players they had.
Definitely.
And it's kind of a shame they didn't give him anything like that recognition. And I think it stems from that, that him being Asian and him being a little different than others. But obviously, he tried one for the NBA draft. Unfortunately, got undrafted and but eventually got picked up by the Golden State Warriors in 2010. Bounced back between that team and G League a little bit before going to Houston Rockets and eventually the New York Knicks.
Now, do you want to explain what the G League is?
So G League is it's kind of like a minor league, right? It's like baseball, everybody knows what it is. It's for players who have that talent and that potential to break into the NBA, or when players aren't good enough to the NBA, but they definitely still want to continue their careers and they have some hope in making it to the NBA back again. So that's where they go. Each team has their respective teams.
Right. So at this point, after 2010, he's waived off the Golden State, then the Houston Rocket, ends up on the New York Knicks. So at this point in time, he doesn't really have a significant he has a really obscure career. No one really knows who he is. There was a lot of ignorance about who he was, and there were a lot of people doubting his potential, even his own coaches, like Coach D'Antoni. But in the offseason, he really took time to improve, playing for the G League and the New York Knicks. Eventually, it comes to 2012, and the Knicks were playing really bad, with 11 out of 13 of their games lost. Their point guard, Baron Davis, was injured, so they put in Jeremy Lin. But what was surprising was that on February 4th, 2012, that could have been his last game. You want to tell him what happens next, Cody?
Yeah, of course. So right before that game, his agent had just called him, and it was like, Jeremy, this could very well be your last moments in the NBA. So just go out and play your heart. Don't even if you do get cut, make a good performance. And so in that moment, Jeremy's like, all right, I gotta put on a performance, obviously. And then he got subbed.
You gotta put on a show.
Yeah, put on a show, exactly. So he got subbed in, and then at the end of the game, he dropped 25 points, 7 assists, and he was eventually promoted as the starting point guard for the New York Knicks into the starting lineup. And they eventually went to a 7-game win streak.
That was the start of Linsanity.
Facts, Linsanity. One of the biggest times for the New York Knicks, and also for us Asian Americans. It showed that we Asians can really be star players.
Right. Want to end it there?
Yeah.
As Cody was saying, Jeremy Lin, as an Asian American, inspired us to do basketball as well. So we took the liberty of recreating some of his iconic trick shots and adding a few highlights of our own.
1, 2, let you on
Oh! There we go, we're filming.
Okay, now have you ever been with a player? Take you downtown where they treat me like the mayor. Take you to the crib where you take it upstairs. What's upstairs? Shit, I'ma show you later. Don't need a spatula, everything catered. Extra flavor. Go ahead, sprinkle some truffle on your mashed potatoes. I'm tryna love. Is you gonna love me back?
Yeah, I'll put it.
Look here, I don't ask for much. You know what I want. I just want what's fair. I'll bring that fire and desire, baby. All you gotta do is meet me halfway there. I deserve to be with somebody as fly as me. Somebody this fly. And you deserve to be seen with somebody as fly as me. Somebody this fly.
Ready to go.
Don't let them trick you with the jib talk. Okay, now Silk Sonic smooth like a mat, float like a butterfly.
So, as impressive as those clips were, we think those clips didn't truly do justice of what Jeremy Lin did on the court.
Yeah, well, just looking at Linsanity, we're talking about a player who averaged 18.5 points per game over the course of 26 games, 7.6 assists, and with him as point guard, the team went 16-10. So honestly, this is a immense victory we're talking about. Comparing the 18.5 points on average, we all know Curry, Stephen Curry, some of you may know him, that just as a base mark, he scores 24 points per game on average. So that is pretty significant.
Yeah, I truly agree with what Holden said. 24 and 18 might seem like a huge difference, but this is a player that we're talking about right now that was about to get cut. He wasn't even a starting player at this moment. He was just a role player bouncing around from team to team, going G League to NBA. And he truly did shine.
The only shame is that there was like a way to somehow use a film technique to quickly portray all of his best moments and highlights through a series of flashy motivational video clips through visual stimulus.
Oh, you mean like a montage?
Yeah.
Well, hold on, don't worry. I did just that. Hey, yo, Alex, is the video ready yet?
Yo, I got you.
A magical night for Jeremy Lin. He's the hero from Harvard as the Knicks get a much-needed victory on the game of his life.
Mike, thank you. Jeremy, career highs across the board. New York in Madison Square Garden chanting your name. Put this in perspective for us. Where does this game rank in your basketball career?
It's right there at the top. I'm just thankful to God for this opportunity to be able to come out here and play with this team and this organization.
And he's been able to penetrate on transition.
Hey, Nate. I was like, I don't know. It's all right. I've been dealing with some things like every human being and really didn't sleep much last night. I'm sorry. That's fine. I just think I need a little me time. I just think I need a little free time. A little break from the shows and the bus rides. Yeah. Last year I had a breakdown. Thoughts telling me I'm lost, getting too loud. Had to see a therapist and I found out something funny's going on up in my house. Yeah, started thinking maybe I should move out. Pack my car, take a new route. Clean up my yard, get the noose out. Hang up my heart, let it air out. I've been searching, what does that mean, Nate? I've been learning, grabbing my keepsakes, leaving my burdens. Well, I brought a few with me, I'm not perfect. Looking at the view like this concerns me. Picking up the cues right, I'm quite nervous. Hate it when I lose sight, life gets blurry and things might hurt me. It's probably gonna be a long journey, but hey, it's worth it though. Cold world out there, kids, grab your coats. Been a minute, I know, now I'm back to Rome. Looking for the antidote to crack the code. Pretty vivid, I admit it, I'm in classic mode. The only pity given to me, but I can't condone. Talking down to me, I'ma have to crack your nose for cracking jokes. I'm looking for the map, the hope, you see that? They're making a whole lot of changes. Wrote a song about that, you should play it. I get scared when I walk on these stages. I look at the crowd and see so many faces. Yeah, that's when I start to get anxious. That's when my thoughts can be dangerous. That's when I put on my makeup and drown in self-hatred. Forget what I'm saying and where'd the beat go? Oh, ain't that something? Drums came in, you ain't see that coming. Hands on my head, can't tell me nothing. Got a taste of the fame, it'll pump my stomach. Throw it back up like I don't want it. Wipe my face, clean up my vomit. OCD tryna I said don't touch it, now y'all done it. I can be critical, never typical. Intricate with every syllable, I'm a criminal. Intimate but never political, pretty visual. Even if you hate it, I'll make you feel like you're in it though. You call me what you want, but never call me forgettable. Leave you deep in thought, I can never swim in the kiddie pool. Waited, I've been thinking the cinematic is beautiful. And I don't know if I'm making movies or music videos. Yeah, the sales can rise, doesn't mean much though when your health declines.
So, in the short span of Linsanity,
The editor.
right, that's fine. All right. Yeah, so we hope you enjoyed the montage. It was edited by me. All right, so in his in the short Linsanity, there was a lot of good highlights, like the game winner Valentine's Day. His dunk. Yeah, a lot of impressive feats by Jeremy Lin. So, but unfortunately, all good things have to come to an end.
Yeah. So on March 24th, right before the playoffs, a sore knee revealed a meniscus tear, which is really heartbreaking for a player just on his star. I'll say his uprising of being a star. He did miss the remainder of the season. However, Knicks ended up being a 7th seed in the Eastern Conference, being 36-30. But of course, defeated by the Miami Heat, who were probably one of the most dominant teams at that point.
All right. So after Linsanity, Jeremy Lin was waived off the New York Knicks.
Carmelo's fault. And D'Antonio.
Yep. And
They sucked.
he bounced around the league for a bit, eventually ending up on the Toronto Raptors. And 2019, with Kawhi Leonard, he became the first Asian to win an NBA championship.
He just got his ringmaster recently. I saw on Instagram.
Awesome. And so currently, he's no longer playing in the NBA. He instead joined the Chinese League. And as of 2022, he's playing for the Beijing Ducks.
As much as Jeremy Lin had an influence on the court, he also had it off the court.
Facts, that's true. And Jeremy Lin, through his success in the NBA during Linsanity, he became a symbol for Asian Americans and also inspiring Asian American pride. So he even made it to the Time magazine as one of the most influential people.
And he still continues to spread, Asian pride and Asian community in China on the Beijing Ducks, and he's even more outspoken now than he was.
Yep. Currently, like Cody said, he's in the Beijing Ducks, and he's taking a more active role in combating Asian hate during the pandemic. In an interview, he said that his biggest regret was that he was not more of an active proponent in Asian pride during his spotlight when he was in Linsanity. So now he's taking a more active presence in that area. So really, Jeremy Lin deeply influenced all of our lives, especially as Asian Americans. Asians aren't really represented the same way in sports, television, or pop culture. And so it was a symbol to see Jeremy Lin as a hero on the court. It was good to see a fellow yellow playing ball. So, I don't even watch basketball if I'm being honest, but I knew who Jeremy Lin was even before the podcast.
That Lin jersey, my mom saw it, and she was like, "Yo, is that a Jeremy Lin jersey?" She's like, "Watch basketball."
Facts. So, I do love physical activity. I love working out, and I love rowing. And so, Jeremy Lin is kind of like an aspiration to me, inspiring me to pursue other things that aren't stereotypically Asian.
Just make it great. And honestly, for Holden say, Jeremy Lin, big influence and big inspiration to us Asian Americans. He disproved the typical stereotypical type of Asians. Just getting good grades. We can play ball, we can score.
Yeah, we get, among other things, score.
Yeah, facts. And also just being a huge part, I feel of Asian culture. And even though his time in the NBA wasn't long, but it definitely made a significant impact.
Want a classic, that's just 10 of these. Crime family like the Genovese. You don't want drama, capiche. My house is full of supermodels just like Muhammad Hadid. I take this too serious, you my comic relief. I find it funny how I keep on talking and commas increase. I'm standing at the top of where you the climbing to reach. I even got my very own initials inscribed in my sheets. Subtle reminders are key. Jeez. Spoiler alert, the second act.
Alright, so thank you to everybody who was watching our video. We really appreciate the support.
Smash that like button and subscribe. But honestly, this big production couldn't have been done with just the two of us. So we'd like to thank the guy behind the scenes, the director, the cameraman, the editor, the screenwriter,